Our next email also comes from the Nerd Zone. And what Nerd Zone is talking about here is video game movies. He says, sorry I missed last week's show. Not a problem. You're an avid watcher, so you're entitled to miss a few episodes now and again. Nerd Zone says, but I have news. Sorry, my brain is not interpreting words correctly. Sorry I missed last show, but I have news, and they are both based on video game movies. First news is about the Super Mario movie. The big Illumination film of 2022 will be an exclusive to Peacock in the US after the cinema release. I do not really care about this news as a UK viewer, but thought this would matter to your U.S. audience, Mike. Nerdzone sends a follow-up email, and he says, so I gave you an email talking about this movie, but one bit I forgot to mention is that the Despicable Me producer, Illumination CEO, is now a part of the Nintendo board of directors to make more Nintendo film projects. Obviously, this Mario movie will succeed. Not necessarily. We'll talk about that in a second. He says, obviously, this Mario movie will succeed, but I have hope as Nintendo and Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto have been working on this film for 5 years now. Maybe we might get a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, and an unrealistic possibility, but I'm going to say it anyway, a Nintendo cinematic multiverse that will end with Super Smash Brothers. This is a joke. Even though I want it to happen as a Nintendo fan. All right, yes. So there's a lot to unpack here, and forgive us, it's gonna take a minute to talk about all of this stuff all together. But yeah, let's. Oh, sorry, where's my tab? There we go. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that Nerd Zone is discussing first and foremost. Yes, in case you haven't heard, a few years ago it was announced that Illumination was teaming up with Nintendo. They were joining forces, and we're gonna get a Super Mario Brothers animated movie coming in 2020. Now, when I said we are getting, let's put a little asterisk there. It says we are getting, this was years ago. Are we still getting? Probably. But again, let's put an asterisk there, and we're going to unpack this whole thing for you. Here in, let me jump over to Variety for a second. All right. So it was first announced in 2018 that we were getting the movie. So this is 3 years ago, you guys. 3 years ago, it was announced that Illumination is now making plans for an animated Super Mario Brother movie. Let's jump into this article really quick in Variety. Illumination founder Chris Meledandri, Chris Meledandri wants to make an animated version of Super Mario Brothers, and Variety has the inside scoop on his plans for bringing the Mushroom Kingdom to the multiplexes. It's a daunting challenge. The classic Nintendo game about a pair of Italian plumbers who must rescue Princess Peach from the villainous Bowser has already inspired a critically reviled 1993 movie. Yeah, it's really bad. Let's jump past this. Meledandri, who is the producer behind Despicable Me and The Secret Life of Pets, relishes the challenge of adapting a property that previously suffered a bumpy transition from game console to the big screen. He says, quote, I like that this was not done well the first time. He said, I think that's more exciting or more worthy than simply making another version of the film that was done incredibly well to begin with. And, you know, they keep going on and talking about how Nintendo Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto is going to come in as a producer, saying we are keeping him at the front and center of the creation of this film. I've rarely seen that happen with any adaptation where the original creative voice is being embraced like we're embracing Miyamoto. There's a history in Hollywood of people believing that they know better, than the people responsible for a property. I've made that mistake before. Blah, 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 blah. They keep saying, it's an ambitious task and Super Mario Brothers is priority development, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. So this is essentially, in a nutshell, they're planning, again, this is 3 years ago. They're planning a movie. They have this. They're bringing in Miyamoto. He's going to be an active participant in the creative process of making this movie, which I take issue with first. Again, we'll get into that. Now let's fast forward to about 8-9 months ago, September of last year. Let's jump into September of last year. Once again, it was being announced that, hey, the Super Mario Brothers movie is in the works, and it's coming in sometime in 2022. So 3 years goes by. We don't hear any movement really about this movie. We hear no casting announcement. We hear no forward movement in terms of hiring a director and hiring other producers. We only have those two names, right? We only have the Illumination Entertainment guy, and I've totally forgotten his name right now. Excuse me, Chris Meledandri and Shigeru Miyamoto. We only have those two names right now, right? And then all of a sudden, a few months ago, last year, September of last year, we get more news, a whole bunch of news bombs about, oh, hey, remember this animated Super Mario movie? Well, again, it's coming in 2022. Don't forget, you guys. But where did this come from? Why out of the blue did we start getting all this news about, hey, remember that movie? It's coming. Well, that same month, September 2020, there was essentially an investors meeting, a Nintendo investors meeting, and they were doing some reporting and kind of, not necessarily reporting, but they were giving overall generalities to their investors, to their shareholders, saying, this is what's going on with Nintendo. These are the things that we have coming up. These are the things that we're excited about. They weren't making any news. They weren't dropping any news bombs, but they were just saying, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. So let's jump into, and again, it's important to note, look right over here. It was September 16th, 2020. Now, yes, it says the fiscal year ending in March 2021, but that was just the report of the fiscal year ending. The actual report was given September 16th, 2020. That's when this whole thing went public. So let's jump down to page 28 here. This is specifically what they said at this Nintendo investors meeting. They said, another way we are delivering Nintendo entertainment to a wider audience is with the Super Mario CG animated movie, which is scheduled for theatrical release in 2022. Production is moving ahead smoothly thanks to the collaboration between Chris Meledandri, founder and CEO of Illumination, known for the Minions movies, and Nintendo's representative director and fellow Shigeru Miyamoto, who are both serving as producers. The movie will be distributed worldwide by Universal Pictures. So that's where the big news stuff is coming. It all came from this Nintendo investors meeting, right? Where they were being held accountable to their shareholders and blah, 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 whatever, right? Okay. But let's jump over, again, there's a lot to cover here to create the full picture. Let's jump over to IMDb for a second. You can see here on IMDb's homepage. Now, is IMDb the official news source for all things movies? No. But here you can see the film is currently in development, and it's expected for September release of 2022. It's in development. It's not even in production yet. It's not even in production. If it were in production, in all of the websites that I was able to find, they're all dated back September of last year. There is very little out there that is dated after September of 2020. So there's very little news source or news cred that we have for a contemporary update, right? So the most that we have is that this movie is in development. It's not even in production. We don't have a vocal cast. We don't have a director. We have 2 producers, and they're like the main executive producers. And the last thing that I want to share with you guys real quick. Now, again, this is on Super Mario Wiki. This is not the end-all, be-all. This is not super official, but let's jump down in here into the wiki really quick. You can see I have part of this highlighted under the untitled Mario film in development. It says that Miyamoto also mentioned that Nintendo and Illumination have mutually agreed to call the deal off if neither company could think of an interesting premise, but also noted that the screenplay has been hashed out has been hashed out a number of times, and talks are in progression, hoping to provide more information once the schedule has been ironed out. And of course, we also have a link, a source for that as well. It was February 9th, 2018, under VentureBeat, interview with Miyamoto. So where does this leave us? What picture is being painted here? I don't think that this Super Mario movie is in a good place right now. Could everything be off the books? It could be. This could be the biggest secret project of all time. Maybe they announced it 3 years ago, and yeah, okay, maybe September of last year there was a little short update there. And maybe they're trying to keep this whole thing hush-hush. Maybe they have the best movie ever. Maybe they have the best movie ever, and they don't want anybody to know. Maybe they already have their voice cast for it. Maybe they've already done all the recording, all the pre-production, maybe all the production for it. Who knows? Maybe this thing could be ready to wrap and come out in theaters of September next year. Maybe it could. But it doesn't seem that way. It really genuinely does not seem that way. And Nerd Zone, let me jump back into your email for a second here. Let's see. Okay. Where you say maybe we might get a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, and, unrealistic possibility, a Nintendo cinematic multiverse that will end in Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be so cool, and I would love to see that. But based on where this movie's at, and based on where other news sources are reporting as to the status of this film right now, I don't see it. I don't see it happening anytime soon. We know that Miyamoto has been extremely protective of the Mario Brothers franchise. After the complete abomination that was the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie, the live-action movie, Nintendo has been very, very cautious and very, very protective with any of their video game IPs. So, and again, there's that, let's jump back in here to the Mario Brothers wiki, where they say, if the, they have to mutually agree upon the story. If the screenplay has been hashed out a number of times and it's not quite where either one of them want it to be, both sides, Nintendo and Illumination, could squelch this deal. They could both put it down. So, I mean, is this a done deal? Is this thing, ready to go in the can? Or is everybody getting excited about it? I say no. Now, Nerd Zone, unless you have other links, unless you have other sources that you can send me, and if you do, please email me those sources, because in my research and everything I was able to find, I wasn't able to come up with anything regarding the movie coming out on Peacock. I wasn't able to find anything about like some of these deals that you're referencing in your email. So if you have specific information, if you have specific links or credits, please send those to me. I would be more than excited to see the stuff that you've been able to dig up. But as far as my research goes, I haven't been able to find anything that says anything close or remote to that. Now, Dominica, let's kick it over to you for a second. I just spent all this time laying out all this information, and yeah, this stuff would be really fun. This would be really exciting if we could get, Donkey Kong universe, we could get a Zelda universe, and obviously a Mario universe. All these animated cinematic universes coming together in a culmination of a Super Smash Brothers movie. That would be epic. That would be so much fun. I don't see it. And based on how much in production or in development this movie is at right now, I'm not even so sure we're going to get an animated Mario movie. I don't know. What do you think? Am I being a little too dour right now? Like, where does this information sit with you?
That was a lot to digest.
I know.
You didn't send me all of that content. You just sent me that one arc.
I most certainly did.
You tricked me.
Mwahahaha.
Yeah. I'm as you're sharing all of this stuff, I'm thinking, it takes Pixar at least like 2 to 3 years to go from script to development to processing all the CGI and everything, and to release date. So if they're saying September 2022 and they still haven't decided on the script, that doesn't seem likely.
No, that does not seem likely at all.
But I do want to comment on the idea of having like a whole multiverse of, I have my original Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo in my shot, right?
And they're beautiful.
Because I'm a long time Nintendo player. Not that I've recently been playing Nintendo stuff, but that was my childhood, right? I even have seen the 1993 Mario film more times than I would care to admit. I don't know how many times, but it was one of those movies that we had taped from the VCR off the television, so I watched it multiple times. And I know it's terrible, but I still watched it a lot. So it would be cool. I mean, it would be cool to see a Super Smash Brothers kind of thing. They did all right with Detective Pikachu, so it's not like they can't have that kind of, video game movie.
That's true. That's a fair point. They did decent numbers with Detective Pikachu, and they did decent numbers with Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think we liked the Ratchet and Clank movie as well. Have you seen that one?
I forgot about that. No, I haven't seen it, but I totally forgot that existed. I mean, there are very few video game movies that have done decently. Like Tomb Raider was okay. That was a decent movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Silent Hill do decently well? I don't watch horror movies, so
I don't either. Was Resident Evil, was that a video game?
It was, which spawned like 7 or 8 sequels. I don't know, like way too many. But yeah, I mean, there are a handful of video game movies that have done decently, and I think the big problem, and even Illumination, I'm not the biggest fan of their animation style. They're okay. I haven't seen Secret Life of Pets, but it's done very well. I can't stand the Minions, but everybody loves them. They are universally beloved by all children everywhere. The Despicable Me movies have done very well. Yeah, Illumination is even the Grinch movie that came out. I was very pleasantly surprised with the Illumination version of the Grinch, using Benedict Cumberbatch as the voice of the Grinch. I actually quite liked that movie. Illumination is not my favorite animation studio, but I think this is a good fit for the Super Mario Brothers, in that they tell good stories, and trying to marry these two things together. Now, again, let's talk about Shigeru Miyamoto being a part of this thing. What's cool about this is that Miyamoto is very protective of his IPs. So I think we can trust a little bit that he's going to ensure protection of Super Mario and Luigi and, in the story a little bit, so that we're not going to have the same abomination that what we had in 1993. However, I also see that he's not a storyteller per se, right? He's a storyteller when it comes to video games, but he's not a storyteller when it comes to film or television. And story arcs and the intricacies of the nuance and who these characters are and what makes them tick, and getting us to believe these characters on screen, that's a completely different skill set, right? And I see Miyamoto being a producer on this film, again, if it ever happens, more as an honorary title, much like Stan Lee was in all of the Marvel movies. Doesn't matter if it was Marvel Entertainment or Marvel Studios, Stan Lee always was an executive producer on all of these properties, not as a creative voice, but just to represent people and himself who created these characters in the first place, right? So, again, Stan Lee didn't have any creative input as to say, oh, no. Captain America does not act like this. He acts like this. He didn't come in and do any of that. He let the creatives do their jobs. And I feel that same kind of honorary title would be bestowed upon Miyamoto in a similar fashion. Dominica, do you have a different take on that? Or do you think he's going to play a more active role in figuring out the story of these characters?
From the article you sent me, it sounded like he was going to have more impact. Like, I was picturing the kind of influence that J.K. Rowling had on the Harry Potter movies. That kind of level of influence.
Yeah, I mean, like, he very well could. He very well might. There's nothing specifically to say that he won't. I just think that the storytelling skill set is a very different skill set than what he's developed in video games over the past 35 years. Now, is that to say that he can't do it, or he's totally inept or incapable of doing that? No, not at all. I'm a comedian, but guess what? I'm also a YouTuber. And guess what? I'm also a flight attendant. And guess what? I'm also a director. And I wear many different hats. So just because I'm good at one thing doesn't mean that I'm not going to be good at something else. I understand that. It's just that typically history has shown us that that's not generally how it goes.
I follow a lot of comic book writers on Twitter, and I have kind of learned over the last few years that I've been reading a lot of comic books that a lot of writers transition between like writing for TV, writing for comic books, and writing for film. So why not video games too? Yeah.
Exactly. Why not video games too? Why not? Why not? Let's make this happen. Anyway, guys, we've spent way more than enough time dissecting this and pulling this apart. I don't necessarily see a Super Mario Brothers animated film being produced by Illumination and distributed through Universal Pictures. I don't necessarily see that happening anytime soon, but maybe this could be more of a secret project that I'm not aware of. Maybe you guys have more information than I do. If you do, please send me those links. I would be very interested to know, but even more than that, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this movie? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be delayed? Do you think they're going to stay on track with 2022? I don't know. Anything could happen at this point. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. And if you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Weird Al Yankovic would want you to do. Dun, 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 dun.